Hey, hey, let's have some fun. Funding. We're going to put some fun in the funding, and we're going to talk about how basically everyone here can get started investing in Bitcoin companies, Bitcoin startups. Most people think that you don't have access to these things, that it's only for the suits or the rich people, but we're going to talk about some ways and some benefits and why you might want to think about that. And for maximum fun, you should scan that QR code there, and we can connect about all this later. All right, so funding Bitcoin startups. First, shout out to some European startups and companies. These are either incorporated in Europe or they're based in Europe. They're operating here. I mean, Bitcoin is global, so it's not like they're only operating here in every case. But shout out to those awesome European builders who are out here doing God's work. All right, so it's a divided world, but we can all agree on one thing. Bitcoin is going to win. It's already won. It's winning right now. That we know, okay? And people like to use the term investing in Bitcoin. Investing in Bitcoin. I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think about it like that. I think about saving in Bitcoin. I save in Bitcoin and I invest in Bitcoin startups and companies. And this is the way I want to present it to you here. So where are we at here? Same adoption as in 1999. If you're old like me, you remember the personal computer revolution. And when the internet was getting going, the internet wasn't a currency that you bought, but you invested in things that were building on or around the internet. And there was a lot of places that you could invest, whether they were public or private. And a lot of the wealthiest people on the planet have made their fortunes by investing in early stage companies. So if we all know that Bitcoin is going to win, what about the companies that are building on Bitcoin? What about the infrastructure company or the financial companies, the on-ramps, the off-ramps, exchanges? And that's pretty much where we're at right there. All right, so just like in the 90s, you had all of these other things that you could invest in. Did you invest in them? I wish that I did, because it's pretty absurd, some of the returns that you were able to get there back in the late 90s. So today you have that chance with Bitcoin startups. Not as a substitute for buying Bitcoin. You're going to be buying Bitcoin the rest of your life. We're saving in Bitcoin. But the companies that are helping these Fortune 500 companies adopt Bitcoin. The wallets, exchanges, on-ramps, off-ramps, wherever you buy your Bitcoin today. If we're in this future Bitcoin world that we know, they're going to be in pretty good shape, that's for sure. So some of the things that you can invest in with Bitcoin startups, Bitcoin is everywhere. There's Bitcoin in healthcare, there's Bitcoin in ad tech, there's Bitcoin in infrastructure, exchanges all over the world. There's lending, there's finance, there's the art auction there that's happening outside, payments. There's many different areas that you can invest in the Bitcoin ecosystem. The question is, how do you get access? Okay, so maybe you're in and you want to start maybe dipping your feet in with some of these early stage Bitcoin startups and start your angel investing journey. Where do you get in? Well, they make it really hard to get in. I remember when I started investing, it was really difficult to get access to private companies, whether you had to be accredited or just really getting deals in front of you and quality deals. So crowdfunding, equity crowdfunding. And we're going to talk about the word crowdfunding because it kind of gets jumbled up, right? People think of crowdfunding and they think of, Indiegogo and some of these other things. But equity crowdfunding specifically is fairly novel. And it allows for anyone, almost anyone, to invest in early stage private companies. And if you're a founder, you might want to utilize this as a way to raise capital for your business outside of traditional venture funding, VCs and all of that. So I'm focused on Bitcoin and open source startups, but this is for anyone, okay? Anyone can invest and get going. So traditional crowdfunding like GoFundMe, Kickstarter, when you invest in these things or you back these projects, you ultimately get nothing, potentially nothing, right? Maybe you get products, and it's really good to help someone fund their movie, fund their project, to contribute to them. But it's not equity. It's not an investment. So when you invest on one of these platforms into a startup, you're basically a small owner at that point. You have a vested interest in their success. If it's a moonshot of 1,000x, 100x, if you lose all your money, it is a real investment. There's regulatory oversight in both the EU and the US that govern this. There are some limits based on how much you can invest. So this is what I'm working on. So Thunder Funder is an equity crowdfunding portal that focuses on open source and Bitcoin startups, right? All of these startups that we see out here that are building, I hope to get them on the platform and hope to be able to provide opportunities for everyone to invest small amounts, to fund those investments in Bitcoin, and to do a lot of things that don't really exist right now in the current market. So the US versus EU, it's actually more favorable here in the EU. It's actually better to operate. It's more simpler than the US. So it's regulated in both cases. The limits is $5 million. So as a startup, you can raise, or as a private company, you can raise 5 million euros if you're incorporated here in Europe, and it's $5 million if you're incorporated in the US, from unaccredited plebs, right? From anybody, all right? So it's really exciting because if you're a late stage company and you want to have something out there for your most active users, your fans, you can give them a piece of your company. Substack just recently did this, where they allowed everyone who loves and uses Substack to actually invest in Substack and actually be an owner in the company. So Europe's very supportive. Some of the Bitcoin startups that have tried this and had successful rounds, Coin Corner did one, Relay did one, and it's not just changing how we invest, right? It's changing who invests, okay? So previously, these investments were held back. There were gatekeepers. You were unable to really invest in early stage startups. And that's where the lion's share of a lot of money is made, okay? Can also go to zero, another thing to think about, all right? So it democratizes it to everyone. It allows for an even playing field for you to kind of get the same access. Traditionally, maybe you have to spend 250,000 euros or there's a minimum to invest in a venture fund, okay? I don't particularly care for that. I like to make my own decisions. I like to invest my own money. And this allows for everyone to do that regardless of your income, okay? So we're focused on Bitcoin, right, and Bitcoin startups. And you get a community, right? As a founder, if you get 1,000 people who invest a small amount in your company, that's pretty powerful. They're putting their dollars and showing how much they believe in your company. And then you get to work with these individuals and, you know, do sorts of calls to action and rally the troops moving forward. It's always a low minimum, which is great, right? You want to invest small amounts of money and learn about angel investing and learn about private markets because it can be very tough. You definitely don't want to invest a lot of money into very few deals. And under Reg CF, they actually don't allow you to do that anyways. There's limits on how much you can invest. So we all know the cons, right? It's illiquid, it's risky, and there's some compliance and regulatory hurdles there. But if you're okay with that, you might actually see much larger returns in some of these early stage Bitcoin startups than you would in just Bitcoin. And we're having some of them right now. Fold, beloved, awesome company. Fold is IPOing, and their seed round to their IPO will be a much larger return than what Bitcoin produced over the same time period. Kraken is a sponsor here. Coinbase was a 4,000x return if you were lucky enough to invest in their seed round from when they IPO'd. But remember, that took 10 years. So you were sitting around holding that investment for 10 years before you got 4,000 times your money back. Okay, so we know about all of this, right? You want to have a lot of these companies. You want to invest in multiple offerings, right? Maybe you love Lightning Labs. Maybe you love Strike. Maybe you're fans of all of these companies and founders, and you want to invest small amounts in. If you have the chance, I would consider it. I would think about it. Okay, so finally here, this is us, right? Thunder Funder, which is available for Europeans to sign up and invest in startups. We just announced this in Nashville. I'm super passionate about democratizing access to all of this for everyone. I think it sucks that you can't invest in Bitcoin startups, in early stage companies. So that's what I'm passionate about doing, is bringing that to you guys. So thanks for the time, and I hope you guys sign up and enjoy the rest of your conference.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here at the Bitcoin Magazine news desk at Bitcoin Amsterdam. To my left, we have Ludmila Kaslavska, president of the Open Dialogue Foundation. And to her left, Alan van Weerdum, editor-in-chief at Bitcoin Magazine and author of the Genesis book. Ludmila, I want to throw it to you. Not to be a downer here, but we just had a talk on crowdfunding and the importance of it, investing in different startups in the Bitcoin space. But you just mentioned to me that the Financial Action Task Force, an international regulatory or governing body, has now said that crowdfunding is a suspicious and high-risk activity. Can you expand on this a little bit?
Exactly. This is unfortunately consequences of report of Financial Action Task Forces last autumn. And the same rhetoric was already supported by EU authorities. So it's already in anti-money laundering regulation adopted this April. So what we have to do, we have to defend our crowdfunding platforms because it's one of the most powerful tools both for developers, but also for us as civil society and activists and human rights defenders. That's why we need to protect it. As Doreen, our member of the parliament, said, we need to come and actually explain why we want this instrument to be defended, explain clearly our position.
Appreciate that. Aaron, we've talked a lot about, privacy on trial, a lot of what's happening with Samurai developers and Tornado Cash developers. Do you think people are going to, or investors, or even just everyday people that can now invest via Thunder Funder, that they might be they might think twice about investing in a Bitcoin company if these sorts of crackdowns continue?
Yes, I would say number one problem is developers ending in jail. That's a bigger problem. But yeah, as a secondary problem, absolutely. Obviously, if projects and companies that are furthering Bitcoin privacy can just be shut down in that way, obviously that's going to also chase away investors. So it's all bad across the board. I've been long of the position that Bitcoin as a project, it kind of just goes against this whole fat regime.
Fat F regime.
It almost can't coexist. Like Bitcoin fundamentally allows anyone, anywhere in the world to pay anyone, anywhere in the world, any amount they want. Like that is the technology that it is.
Yep.
I believe that is important. I believe, it's effectively human right to be able to transact with whoever you want, whenever you want. And these kinds of regulations, they're incompatible. So I think it's very important that we actually have a very fundamental discussion about that, as not just as Bitcoiners, but actually as a society in general. Like, do we think it's worth the trade-off to catch? You will catch a couple of bad apples, but is it worth the trade-off to just kill off privacy in its entirety for that purpose? I don't think so. I think that leads to a very scary future, a very Orwellian future, which I'm not very enthusiastic about.
Okay.
I would rather avoid that. But yeah, that's a fundamental question that we as a society are going to have to discuss. And Bitcoin is sort of forcing that discussion in a way.
I think, and speaking of discussions, we have the president of the Open Dialogue Foundation with us. We've actually, Ludmila, been in discussions with you and members of the FATF. You often talk about the importance of engaging with civil society, right? Can the FATF and Bitcoin coexist in your mind?
If we explain it and it has to be neutral language, yes.
Okay, well, I appreciate the short response there. We do have to cut back to the main stage, as you can probably see and hear. We appreciate it again with Ludmila Kozlovska, president of the Open Dialogue Foundation, Aaron von Weerdem, editor-in-chief of Bitcoin Magazine, again, author of the Genesis book. Let's take it back to the main stage. We'll be back right after that.
Is your company ready for the next evolution in financial strategy? Bitcoin for Corporations is your partner in securing the future of your business. With exclusive membership benefits, our comprehensive masterclass, and a network of trusted service providers, we provide the insights and resources to help you incorporate Bitcoin into your financial strategy, ensuring stability and long-term value. Strengthen your business. Innovate with confidence. Bitcoin for Corporations, protecting your treasury and positioning you for the future.